Hi and salutations everyone. Hope that you are doing well. I want to offer a practice today that's personally my favorite combination, my favorite way to practice asana, a combination of yin yoga and vinyasa yoga. And the vinyasa part will be pretty straightforward, some sun salutations with a few standing poses thrown in. And then when we get down to the yin part, also pretty straightforward. A back bend, a forward fold, a hip opener, a twist, and then we'll get you out and on your day. Prop-wise, you won't need much other than just your mat. If you have a blanket nearby for some of the kneeling poses that you want a little padding, that could be good to have. And maybe a block or two if you just feel like you need some support. So let's find our way to our mat, starting at the top of the mat, and a ragdoll pose. So feet about hip-width apart. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. So feet about hip-width apart, hinging from the hips, folding over the legs. And being mindful here that as you do this, seeing if you have a tendency to kind of maybe pour everything back into the heels. That's what most of us tend to do. So if your hands can reach the floor, maybe rock back and forth a little bit here, literally finding your footing. And then you might need a little bend in the knees. My hamstrings are a tad cranky today. Taking a hold of opposite elbow or bicep. Weight pouring into these arms so that it feels like there's some length and some space being developed in our spine here. And then maybe a little sway side to side. That could be kind of cool and groovy. And then we'll pause here. We'll bring our hands to our shins just below those knees. Lengthen through your spine. Roll those shoulder blades back and down. So shoulder blades onto the back. And then hands to the hip as you press your feet into the floor. Inhale, bringing the torso up, rolling those shoulders back and down. Then on that next inhale, arms coming up overhead. I realize that the top of mine are disappearing now. Exhale, take a little side bend over to the right. Doesn't matter, we're going both sides today. Inhale to the center. Exhale, take it over to the other side. I mean, if I was trying to go all Rodney Yee on you, I'd be wearing like a little black Speedo right now. Inhale back to the center. Exhale, bring your arms down. Interlace the fingers behind you. Roll the shoulders back and down. And no one wants to see that. Take a big breath in. Exhale, hinge forward. Well, maybe a very select market. Take another inhale. Exhale, drop those arms. Hands to those shins. About halfway up, hands at your heart or at your hips. Inhale, bring the torso up. Exhale. All right, let's bring our hands to our heart. Starting to just get the breath a little bit more structured here. So an exhale out of your mouth. Then seeing if we can start to breathe in and out through the nose. Now, depending on where you live and what time of year you're doing this, that could be a challenge in and of itself. There's a little bit of pollen in the air here in Charleston this afternoon that I'm doing this. So nose breathing could be a challenge. Inhale, take those arms overhead. Exhale, let's dive out over the legs. Halfway up on the in-breath. Exhale, fold. Arms out to the side. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to the heart. 2 more half sun salutes. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, dive out over those legs. Lengthen the spine. Exhale over. Try not to grip your toes into your mat. Inhale up. Exhale, hands to heart. 1 more time. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold over those legs. Find that length. Exhale over. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Now we're going to do 3 sun A's. Now before we get there, coming back to the breath. If you're still with me, breathing in and out through the nose. Let's see if we can breathe in to maybe a 4 count and out to a 4 count. Again, through the nose if you can. And let's try to maintain that breath through these sun A's. Inhale, taking those arms up. Exhale, dive out over those legs. Halfway up on your in-breath. On the exhale as you fold, we're going to take it back to that plank pose. Looking out past your mat. If you like to jump into your plank, feel free. My jumping days ended many years ago. Then on the exhale, we're going to come all the way down to the belly. Uncurling those toes, inhale, lifting up into a little baby cobra here. So rolling those shoulders back and down, hugging in those elbows. Maybe a little bobblehead moment here. This first sonnet will hold things a little longer, move a little slower. Then exhale, forehead to the floor, tabletop or plank to downward facing dog. If we need to move around, maybe just one or two pedals of the legs, then letting those heels drop towards the mat. And then as we look up at the top, if you're a stepper, step up, otherwise a couple of jumps or one big hop. Halfway up on the inhale, exhale over. Arms out to the side, inhale, sweep up, exhale, hands to the heart. This one will pick it up a little bit. Inhale, sweep up those arms. Exhale, hinge from the hips. Halfway up on that in-breath. On the exhale, if you're a stepper, go with the other foot, otherwise jumping to your plank. Belly if you want to go cobra, chaturanga if you want to go up dog. 3 breaths in this back bend. Coming back to that even breath. Exhaling as much as you inhale. Exhale back to down dog. Trying to find some stillness at this point. Then as we look up at the top of that mat, left foot forward, followed by right, or a big jump. Lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold over. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Executive decision. I decided we're going to do 2 more rounds of that. Again, picking it up a little bit. Reach on that inhale. Exhale, that dive. Halfway up. Exhale, back to your plank pose. Inhale at the top of this plank. Exhale, down your way. Inhale into your back bend. Exhale. Let's stay here one more breath. Then next exhale, back to downward facing dog. Dog. That went very aggressive there. Looking up at the top of your mat. Step, couple of hops, or one big jump. Lengthen your spine. Exhale over. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Let's do it one more time. Inhale, reach. Exhale, dive. Halfway up on your inhale. Exhale, traveling back to your plank pose. Exhale, coming down. Inhale into that back bend. Exhale, back to down dog. See, I told you we would pick it up a little bit. All right, then looking up at the top. Inhale. Exhale, get your feet to the top of the mat. Lengthen your spine. Fold over. Let's bring those feet together. And bending the knees, sinking the hips, coming up into chair pose. So with chair, much like in Uttanasana or forward fold, there's sometimes a tendency in chair to kind of roll weight too far forward or too far back. So pick up your toes. Find equal effort in the ball and heel of each foot. And it's almost like a little lift of the arch of the foot. Then we'll lay those toes back down. Inhale, straighten the legs. Exhale, fold over. Halfway up on the inhale. Exhale, let's take it back. Coming through your vinyasa. Moving pretty steady at this point. Now from here, down dog, we're going to come into warrior 1. Now for warrior 1, we need a little shorter stance. So let's move that left foot up a little bit. Then step your right foot forward. Bring the torso up as you lunge into this right leg. Think about drawing this left hip forward and this right hip back. Then arms overhead, palms facing each other, getting those shoulder blades on the back. 2 more breaths. Then exhale, hands to the ground, back to your plank pose. If you want to work a little easier, go straight back to dog. Otherwise, come down, find your back bend, then find down dog. Obviously, I wanted to work a little easier. Then we're going to position that right foot, left foot forward, torso coming up, which when it comes to matters of physical exercise, that is usually what I like to do. Work a little not so hard. Hands to the ground. All right, this time I'll do a vinyasa. Back to our dog. Then looking up, step hop or float to the top. Find that length. Exhale over. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Roll those shoulders back and down. We're going to add another pose into that sun B mix. So bend the knees, sink the hips, shoulders back and down. This is such a great pose for building strength in these legs, but it's also a good little core move. Inhale, stand. Exhale, fold over, lengthen up. Exhale, taking it back your way. Coming through that vinyasa, if you choose, to down dog, positioning our left foot so we can step that right foot up into warrior one. Let's find 3 breaths. Now the breath may start to get a little short here because you're doing a lot more. You're moving, you're throwing up the arms. Next, inhale. Let's peel this open into warrior two. Now as you open up towards that long side of your mat, you're going to probably have to scoot that left foot back. That's perfectly fine. One more breath. Then cartwheel your hands to the ground. Dog, maybe plank for a breath or two, then dog, or your full vinyasa to get to dog. All right, position your right foot, left foot up. Coming up into our warrior one. Kind of blocked it out for a moment. One more breath. Peel that open into warrior two. Shoulders down. Now when you hear me giving these little, we'll call them tips, that's usually stuff that I'm noticing that I'm doing. Hands to your mat. Taking it back your way. This time I'm just going to hold my plank for about 2 more breaths. And then go back to my down dog. So many ways to personalize the practice for you. Now looking up at the top. Exhale, get your feet there. Bend the knees, sink the hips. Bonus chair pose. Inhale, stand. Exhale, hands to the heart. Let's do that one more round because I'm tired of doing them. Bending the knees, sinking the hips. Good. Exhale, fold over the legs as they straighten this time. Halfway up. Exhale, taking it back. Coming through your vinyasa. Positioning that left foot up a little bit. Right foot forward. Up into our warrior one. Again for 3 breaths here. Obviously, it's a great way to warm up for anything. Exhale, open into that warrior two. But these sun salutations, 3, 4 rounds, 5 rounds of each if you're feeling real frisky. Straighten that right leg. We're going to reach forward to that right hand. Right hand coming down, left hand reaching up for triangle pose. But they make a great practice in and of itself. Take another inhale. Looking down. Exhale, lunge into that right leg. Hands to the floor. Your choice. No vinyasa, half vinyasa, full vinyasa. Then positioning that right foot, left foot forward. Getting panty here. Up into that warrior one. But, if you're on a day where you're kind of pressed for time and you can't make an hour class or a 90-minute class, these vinyasas, these sun salutations rather, are a great way to get your practice in. Warrior two. Then let's straighten that left leg. Reach forward to that left hand. Left hand down. Right hand up. And as you can tell, they get your heart rate up and make you a little breathy. Then looking down, lunge into that left leg. Hands to the ground, down dog. Or that vinyasa, last call. Then from here, let's bring the knees to the mat, the hips to the heels, finding child's pose. Now when you find this child's pose, this is our bridge between our vinyasa, our yang, and our yin. So for our yin part, we let that breath find its way back to its normal rhythm. So it's less and it might be more. Now, as we move into the yin stuff, if you find tightness somewhere, by all means, let your breath act as a way to kind of support you in the pose. So with the first back bend we're going to do, well, the only back bend, we're going to come up to our bellies, and we'll start with the elbows up under the shoulders. And I like to take my feet a little further apart. I got to find my little timer here. So a few things that make a pose yin. One is not a lot of muscle engagement. So if you're pressing the feet into the floor, stop that. If you're squeezing the glutes, stop that. Then let's sink into those shoulders a bit. And drop the chin towards the chest. And this could be our back bend. It's pretty mild. Or we could straighten the arms into seal pose. This is a much more active pose, and it's harder to not engage a lot of muscles here because you'll be tempted to kind of really engage your hands and probably squeeze your glutes a little bit. So if you're getting here and you're finding that you're exerting a lot more effort than you wanted, come back down to that shape of Sphinx. I tend to like to kind of go between the two. The other thing that makes a pose yin is how long we hold it. So we're going to hold all of these for about 3 minutes each, not a total of 3 minutes. So you're approaching that halfway mark here. Let that chin drop towards the chest if you're in that shape of Sphinx. That's very good if you spend a lot of your time looking at a screen, whether on a desk or in your hand. Maybe open and close the jaw a few times. Raise and lower the eyebrows. This is a good way to counter if you tend to kind of round forward. You know, you sort of, I have a friend who calls it the boiled shrimp look. A little less than a minute here. Though we are going to do a forward fold, but we're going to fully embrace our boiled shrimp look. About 30 more seconds to go here. Again, let your breath just be kind of Then from here, slide those hands under your shoulders. Let's press up to our tabletop shape. We'll counter this with a few rounds of cat-cow. I like to counter a lot of the yin poses with maybe a little bit of movement here. This is a pretty short hold. You may not be feeling a lot of stuff here. All right, then from here, we're going to come onto our seat. Swing those legs around. We're going to do a seated forward fold called caterpillar pose. And if you are a little bit tighter in the hips, maybe grab you a blanket and sit on the edge of the blanket, not up in the middle of it. Legs are going to be extended, and just kind of wiggle your legs out a little bit. Pedal them out, roll your feet in and out a few times. And then we're going to hinge forward. If you had blocks, you could put blocks on either side to rest your hands on. I like to just bring my hands to my shins. We'll start our timer over. So here's where we're going to embrace that roundness, right? So hinge, and then see if you can start with the mid back. So it's sort of this idea that you're puffing those back ribs out behind you. dropping your chin toward your chest. This stretches the whole length of the spine and gets in that fascia, that connective tissue as well. You could keep your hands where they are. You could bring your hands to your legs and either rest your chin or your forehead on the hands, or you could even bring the fingers to the back of the head, not trying to pull yourself forward, but maybe just a little extra traction for that neck. Again, very good if you're spending a lot of time staring at screens. Check in with those feet, that you're not pressing the heels into your mat and pointing your toes up. Let your feet roll in or out, whatever their natural inclination is. That sigh was because I really start to feel this sort of at that connection between my mid-back and low back. That's where a lot of my tension tends to reside. And as we sink and hold into these poses, we start to feel release. And sometimes that's good to sigh it out. About 30 more seconds here. This pose is really good to do at the end of a long day. If you spend a lot of time on your feet, or if you spend a lot of time sitting, both of those things tend to really kind of compress our spine. So this is a good way to find some feeling. All right, so to come out of this, we're going to flex those feet. Hands to the floor. Let's find a little bit of length in that spine. We'll walk the hands till they're alongside our hips, and then maybe go a little bit behind and lean back into your hands. You can just look up a little bit or drop your head as much as is comfortable for you. And then we'll come back to center. We're going to go into a hip opener. I'll give you two choices. Those of you that are feeling pretty open in the hips, maybe pigeon pose. So you'll find your way to down dog. I'm going to go into a pose called deer. I have a little bit of a knee situation going on, and pigeon is just not a friendly pose for me in that. So for deer, you're going to have the right leg in front of you, lining up your right shin with whatever edge of your mat you're facing. Left knee and hip are in the same line, and left foot, I like to bring mine a little bit closer towards me. And then I'm just going to go over my right shin with a little bit of flexion in my right foot. If you feel kind of tight here, you could be more over your right knee. And those of you in pigeon, right knee up behind that right wrist, and then finding that shape of pigeon that serves you here. So good for the outer hips, this pose. And depending on if you're inhabiting a tighter body, might be a little uncomfortable. As long as it's not in a fashion that feels like you can't make it, you're fine. Hip openers are good poses to kind of scan around to make sure that you're not just moving tension around. Sometimes we get very clever in this pose and we'll move something from that outer hip glute area up to the shoulders or jaw, or between the eyebrows. All places to check that you're not doing that. We've passed that halfway mark on this side. Doing a 3-minute hold on each side here. If you feel a little bit more open, see what that means to you in the pose. I mean, the hips go a little lower towards your mat if you're in pigeon. Does it mean you come a little bit more over the shin if you're in deer? Less than a minute to go. Seconds. I just feel like this might be a pose that you really want to know how much longer you have in it. All right, one more breath here. And we'll start walking back up to the hands, best as you can there. Those in deer, we're going to lean to the right so we can swing the legs around, maybe bring them out in front, give them a little bit of movement. If you look down at your legs, your right leg might be a little bit longer. Those of you in pigeon, you're going to make your way to down dog and either be still or wiggle around a bit in that. I'm going to have one more sip of water. All right, let's take it to the other side. And just for continuity here, I'm going to do the same pose on both sides here. With my cute little unicorn stool from behind me. But these are poses that could be a little bit interchangeable for you if you wanted. If, pigeon feels great on one side and not the other. So pigeons from down dog, you're going to bring that left knee up behind you. Up behind your wrist, rather. Hi, mister. This is my cat, Frank Sinatra. Yeah. And deer, you're gonna have that left leg out in front. I think he's upset that he's missed so much camera time. Yeah. He's not, oh, well, thank you. He's not usually this affectionate unless there's a camera. I always notice a little bit more on this side than on my right side that I tend to kind of roll my right hip forward and kind of clench that glute a bit. Those of you that are Frank Sinatra fans, I'm pretty sure he'll make another appearance. We're at that halfway point. Yes, here he comes. Minute to go. less than 30 seconds here. All right, so we'll start to walk those hands back towards us. Again, those of you in deer, we'll lean to the left so we can swing those legs around, maybe kicking your props. Those of you in pigeon, make your way to down dog. Crack your toes if that's your thing. Then those of you in dog, go ahead and find your way down onto your seat. And we're just going to take an easy seated twist here. Finding Sukhasana, easy seated pose. Right leg in front. Left hand's going to come to that right knee. Right hand's going to drift a little bit behind us. Find some length in your spine first, then taking that twist to the right. See if you can look over that back shoulder. We're just going to hold this for 10 breaths. We're not going to hold this in a yin fashion. Come back to the center, switch the legs, left leg in front. Taking the right hand over to the left knee, left hand behind you. Again, find length first, then twist to your left. And coming back to the center. Now, take about 2 or 3 minutes at least for Shavasana. So go ahead and come onto your back. As you come onto your back, maybe you do one more hugging of the knees to your chest. Maybe you do a happy baby pose where you hold on to big toe or pinky toe side of your foot. Close your eyes. We'll take what's called a 4-7-8 breath. So inhale to the count of 4, and hold for 7. And then through the lips, a slow exhale to 8. So 3 more times. Inhale, hold, through the lips, 2 more rounds at your own pace there. Then maybe a deep breath in and a big open mouth sigh. And then just try to fall into the space of Shavasana. No more effort needs to be given to the body or the breath. And trying to drop maybe the effort in the mind. If you'd like to take a longer Shavasana, feel free to pause or turn this off and stay in this shape of Shavasana for as long as you like. Or begin to deepen the breath a bit. And wiggling the fingers and the toes. Maybe taking the arms overhead, giving yourself a big stretch maybe a sigh, maybe a yawn. And as you bring your feet back to the floor, if your day's pretty done, you could roll to your left side. That's a little bit more of the calming, soothing energy. If you still have a bit to do, maybe this is the middle of your day, roll to your right. It's a little bit more stimulating and energizing. And keeping the eyes closed as you find your way to an upright, seated position. I like to close my classes with something called the dedication of merit from the Buddhist tradition. So as you find that seat, you can either place palms over your heart center or in a prayer fashion in front of your heart. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings never be parted from freedom's true joy. And may we all dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, free from aversion, and free from aggression. It's been an honor to practice with you in this little brief practice. It's a great way to start or end your day or have a little break in the middle of your day. I hope it serves you well, and I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.